podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another Stat Me Up for Anfield and I think where we are there, Anfield Index even. Now, ladies and gents, goals from open play. 4 goals from open play. A victory nonetheless. The sun was shining at Anfield on Sunday, and we've got a million things to talk about. We've even got interviews with former hipster players, hipster transfer targets to talk about. So we might as well get the hipster stat man on himself, and Ben Bocksak is back. Ben, how are we?
Yeah, good to be on. It was a good weekend for a change, you know. Nice bank holiday, nice victory for Liverpool, and yeah, we even managed to talk to the only player I think who's played under both Arne Slot and Jurgen Klopp at this stage anyway. I mean, there will be you'd presume so, a lot of players in the next few months, but at this stage, he's the only one who's done it. So we'll have a little discussion about that as well.
Love that. What could be more stat me up than having the one player that's played under both? Hey, there you go, the uniqueness of this one. But let's go back to Sunday, Ben. 4-2. I'm still struggling to say that. 4-2, 4 goals, 4 open play goals. You've got a Salah header, a Robbo rebound, you've got a Gakpo header, and you've got a Harvey Elliott screamer in the top corner. I mean, there's quite probably a bit to break down on this. What interesting, maybe a tale of two halves or periods a little bit as well. What were your overall thoughts on the game?
I think it was a tale of like almost 60 minutes and 30 minutes or almost, because for 60 minutes it was total domination from Liverpool. Like that's Jurgen Klopp at his best. That's the football that we've come to love and enjoy. It was brilliant to watch. Tottenham were just so off it, and Liverpool capitalised on everything. Obviously, then you have a flurry of changes after an hour mark, which, fair enough. I mean, you know, you want to give some of the fringe players a bit of time. I understood the changes, but obviously that sort of disrupted the rhythm a little bit. I think it almost sort of made Tottenham sort of realise, like, hang on a minute, like, we're still in a top 4 race, like, and we've just decided not to turn up in this game. So they turned up a little bit, and obviously when they do play, they do have quality going forward, and I think they sort of capitalise on Liverpool's disorganisation a little bit because of the amount of changes that were made. But I think overall, even the 2 goals will not sort of tarnish the performance for me. I thought there was a lot of positives. There's a lot of good players, and I think it was a good game in general to watch.
It was, I was there. The sun was shining. There were, like you said, there was some great football. I think the one thing that astonished people, even in the stadium, was why did Spurs wait so long to start playing? And why did Spurs wait so long to bring Richarlison, just so we could boo him in the first place, and Maddison on? It just seemed so strange to almost wait till the game was completely gone to try that. But hey-ho, and you're right. I mean, there was quite a few players that had special games, to be fair. Stats-wise, who shone in this one?
I think you got to pick out Harvey Elliott. He created the most chances on the pitch. He also made the most recoveries while he was on the pitch as well. So, like, his defensive work was really good in terms of pressing and everything. On top of that, I think obviously he got the goal and the assist. Now puts him with 13 goal contributions. That's the joint most from Liverpool's midfielders this season. So he's done better than Gravenberch. So obviously we've signed on a lot of money and he's outperforming them. And arguably, I'd say, I mean, you've got to take into account the fact that McAllister's 2 goal contributions were penalties. So, in terms of non-penalty goal contributions, it is sort of Elliott that leads the way from Liverpool's midfield.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive considering the amount of starts that he's had, the amount of minutes he's played, and everything else. And I think I also sort of wanted to highlight the fact that in this last sort of 6-game period in the Premier League, Elliott has started 3 games. Liverpool have 7 points from those games, 9 goals scored. And then Elliott, the 3 games that he didn't start, Liverpool have, I think, just 1 point from those games, and they've scored 2 goals in those 3 games. And Elliott as well, in the 3 games that he did start, he got 3 goal contributions on top of everything as well. So, I don't think it's just a sort of anomaly, or he is. I think there is a good case to be made that he is one of the big factors why Liverpool got those 7 points, or why Liverpool played better. And I think even before that 6-game period, for example, against Sheffield United, when Liverpool was searching for a goal, when he came on, Liverpool looked better with him on the pitch. And I think you can make a case and an argument for that for pretty much every single instance in the last few games when he's been playing, Liverpool have looked better, and he's in great form. And we're picking up points, we're scoring a lot more goals when he's on the pitch. And I think, like on the weekend, that performance was sort of summarized. It was almost him at his best, and I feel like he's really sort of starting to grow as a player. And I think next season is going to be massive for him. I think I've always been a fan of him, and I think right now we're sort of seeing his best version.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely. I mean, the goal was unbelievable on Sunday, but yeah, best for me. One of arguably the best performance of the season. The big thing around Harvey Elliott, it's always been in recent times. Can he do it from the start? Hasn't it? He's been great coming on. He's almost assumed that super sub role, but like you say, he's very much in recent times having an impact from the start, and it would be great. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to leave him out against Villa, which we'll talk about as well. He fully deserved to roll the start into that one. I suppose the only thing, and I get what you're saying about we've got more points. He's been one of the better players. Christ, though, you think of some of the games recently, Ben, we probably could have had 14 on the pitch against Everton and we still have lost. There's been some hopeless cases, but yeah, he really has been a bit of a shining light. Anyone else at all? Anyone else stats-wise kind of worth a mention, stand out at all against Spurs?
I mean, I like to highlight the young players, to be fair, and I know I think people on social media sometimes give me a bit of slack.
Yeah, you got it, didn't you?
I think I thought Bajcetic, considering giving the context of this was his first game back in this environment against a tough team as well. Like a lot of international players in that Tottenham team. I think the fact that he won 6 out of 8 duels.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I think for me, he looked quite comfortable on the ball. He had a few instances where he did really well in terms of winning sort of tackle, like fouls, and just spraying a few passes. I thought he was quite good, and obviously winning 6 out of 8 duels is pretty impressive, I think, for a Liverpool midfielder. Obviously, there were still areas of his game that I thought he could improve on, but I thought it was really nice to see him back on the pitch, and really nice to see him sort of doing well or okay. It wasn't anything special, but you wouldn't expect it to be a special performance. But it was just nice to see him back, and I thought it was. I wanted to highlight the positives, and clearly people didn't like it. I mean, I'm sure some people liked it, but there were people who had a few disagreements regarding that. And I think as well, like Kwanzaa again, I thought for the first 60 minutes, like we said, it was a game of sort of 60 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
For the first 60 minutes when everything was organized and it was the proper Liverpool team, he was brilliant. And like even overall, 6 out of 7 duels won, 2 out of 2 aerial duels, 3 out of 3 tackles, 3 clearances. He was reading the game really well and really composing the ball. I thought he was good. I think obviously in the second that 30-minute period, maybe he wasn't as impressive, but you can make the case for the whole Liverpool team. You can make the case for Van Dijk as well. I thought it was just Liverpool at the back were a little bit messy and sloppy in the 30 minutes, but I think again I chose to highlight the positives, and I thought overall he was good again, and if he can sort of produce the 60 minutes that he produced against Tottenham, then wow, Liverpool have a player in their hands, and we've been saying that all season really, and that's credit to him. I think he's going to be also like another one, just like Elliott, who's going to be really important for Liverpool's future and looking ahead to next season. I think them two, they're going to be key on the slot.
Yeah, a lot to unpack with the youngsters. I mean, but Kwanzaa, I agree. I thought he was so good for that first period. Now, in mitigation for him, and I'll come to sort of one of those players later, the midfield change of Bajcetic and Gravenberch totally destabilised us. Gomez went left back. I mean, he made some great clearances, Gomez, but he did get pinched for the goal, didn't he? He switched off and they played it inside him. I thought Kwanzaa was brilliant. And then I hate saying this, I hate the words coming out of my mouth, but Richarlison enters the field and he really struggles with Richarlison a little bit and his physicality. So you hope for Kwanzaa's sake, it was a good sort of learning experience, shall we say, in that regard. Because, I thought for that period, Richarlison got the better of him. Bajcetic was a fascinating one for me because he comes on, Ben, and he does that thing, when he opens up his body, which, and not trying to be mean, but Endo can't do. He opens up his body, like beats a player, lets it roll across. And I thought, hey, up his badge back. And then he plays it straight to a Tottenham player. And there was kind of a combination of me for Bajcetic. I was like, there was some nice stuff, but he got, listen, total defence. He gets a complete free pass. This is his first game for God knows how long. So I'll give him a free pass. The stuff I like, but I thought he struggled. I think Klopp said it. Every sub, I understood why it was done. It just destabilised us a bit more, didn't it? And I think you're right. Even people ignore this as much as they talk about the subs. The skipper looked a little bit rocky, didn't he? The skipper looked a little bit panicked. If there's one you thought, right, if Virgil just calms down and reasserts his authority, the whole thing will go right. But, there was bits. But I think, as you said, the game was already over. When Club, it's great saying, they came and played. Yeah, but they came and really played at 4-0 down. Yeah, that's when the pressure's off for teams, isn't it, realistically, at Anfield? So does it mean that much? I'm struggling to take too many negatives from that, to be honest. There you go.
I would have liked to have seen Bajcetic just, be the one change and come in and see how he would have done with a setup in Liverpool. Because I think it would have been completely different. Like the passes that he gave away and little situations like that will have come because, Liverpool switched the system and nothing was really clicking together. And obviously Tottenham woke up. So I think it would have been interesting to see how it fitted into that. But obviously he's still not 100% fit. So I think...
True. Free pass.
Like you said, free pass. And I think, if anything, though, for me, it just sort of highlighted that what I've always believed in terms of his game. I don't know if he is like a full sort of holding midfielder.
Yeah.
More as a number 8 type. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Arne Slot's sort of thoughts are and what the new coaching staff will see in terms of his future. I think that's going to be I'm really curious to see that as well.
I'm intrigued because everyone's kind of gone down there. He'll be a 6, he'll be a DM because he's played centre-back early in his career, but kind of like you, I would not, but I'm almost steering more towards the 8, the way he plays. It would not surprise me if he fulfilled that role. But yeah, Arnie Slot will decide when it's officially announced in the worst kept secret in the world. But there we go. And an interesting one, because we haven't stacked me up, so I want to keep with the theme, Ben. That takes us to 78. I mean, Champions League qualification was already, secured, but with the Villa result, we're third. We can't go any lower than that. So third's the lowest we will finish. And let's be honest, third is where we'll finish with the other 2 teams as well. The most we can get is 84 points, which seems like at the start of the season, I know it's not panned out as people want before everyone jumps on this type of thing. But I think if people had said you'll get 84 points at the start of the season, I think most people would be, considering the turd we served up last time, that's not the worst thing, actually. I could take that. 84 points, Ben. Where does that kind of put us in terms of, we know it's not the golden 90s as we've been, but in terms of overall 84 points, it doesn't sound too shabby in our overall Premier League numbers rankings, does it? Surely.
Yeah, I mean, so in the Premier League, that would put us joint 5th with another season that we had before Jurgen Klopp. I don't know if you can guess it, but that season we beat Man City 3-2.
It's under Rafa.
No, not under Rafa.
Oh, Brendan Rodgers, the 13-14. Yeah.
That's the one.
Why do we always bring up seasons we try and avoid on this? Honestly, yeah, it's what we do.
So that it would put us joint with that season as in 5th place, and we've only had obviously the season we won it, 1920, then 21-22, 18-19, which were all under Jurgen Klopp. Those were the ones that were better, and then in 4th place was the 08-09 season under Rafa Benitez. When again,
there you
go. That was a good season for Liverpool. I think we beat Real Madrid 4-0 at Anfield, and obviously in the Premier League as well, beat United 4-1 at Old Trafford. But I think a couple of slip-ups and a bloody Federico Makeda goal, who decided to turn up for just that one game in his entire career, sort of cost Liverpool the league title. But yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that out of all of these seasons, it seems like Liverpool will have only won the Premier League once.
Yeah.
These are all sort of record seasons. And if you look at just in general, in terms of the overall picture of the Premier League's history, most other seasons, Liverpool would have ended up as winners. So it is interesting. And I think it's a bit of a, I don't know, it makes me feel weird when I think about it. But yeah, it would be, I think, a good result.
Yeah, it would be. Still got to get 84, mind. They are on 78. They still got Villa away, as we know, before Wolves on the final day of the season. But yeah, strange to think that, as we know, low 70s would have won you the league in some season. But that is the backdrop we're against now, so we deal with it. And this one, Ben, you knew I was going to ask you about this, because when I heard you were interviewing, I don't know if you used his middle name, but Joao Carlos Texeira, and it was just Joao Texeira, I thought, if ever there was a former hipster Liverpool player being interviewed by a hipster, I said, like, hipsters assemble type of thing. But the one thing I did like, and obviously I've watched it, it's a good interview. I really would encourage you people, if you've not, to watch it on Anfield Index, listen to it, podcast, whatever. Unique player, isn't he? The only player that's played, and obviously that's going to change very shortly, as we know, but the only player who's played under Jurgen Klopp and Arnie Slot. I mean, that's an unbelievable stat, really. That's something. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to relive the whole interview. Don't get me wrong, Ben. And again, people listen to it. It's a good one. But probably the key call-outs I did want to ask, and I think it's worth mentioning, what did Joao, as though I know him, say are the biggest similarities and differences between the two coaches and their styles?
Yeah, I think obviously he's unique in the sense that he was there at Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp took over.
Yeah.
And he was there at Feyenoord when Arne Slot took over. So we kind of spoke about what were the similarities in terms of when they came over, like what were the things that he changed. I mean, obviously Klopp came in mid-season, Arne came in at the start of the pre-season for Feyenoord. So I think the thing that he mentioned is they were both sort of they had a very clear idea on how they wanted to play. And they came in and they immediately sort of introduced that idea to the team. So that's something that is similar. They believe in our principles and they were very effective in getting those ideas across to the rest of the team and in training sessions and etc. So I think that's what he mentioned was similar. I think the differences are obviously said different character. He said Arne was more relaxed, more sort of laid back, probably. He still said, I think he was quite humorous, like he was always joking around, but maybe a little bit less serious to Jurgen Klopp, which I think is interesting because we know Klopp can be serious, but we also know Klopp as a sort of light-hearted side, so it'll be interesting to see an even more laid back and in comparison to him. And I think as well, in terms of the training sessions, when we spoke about it, and pre-season in particular, you mentioned there was a lot of ball work involved. They do 2 training sessions a day, and all of those would be really focused on ball work, doing triangle stuff, like really possession-based things. I think a lot of rondos and things like that. That's what the Liverpool players should be expecting, I think, in pre-season. I think it was quite interesting because obviously with Klopp, we know like the first few days are very intense, very sort of running exercises. Whereas now it might be a little bit different. I think there might be a bit more ball work involved immediately in pre-season.
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks, you're all set to go. It's going to be a good day. And then you find out, oh, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak, there's rage, there's despair, there's fury. You're upset. You're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get to your information. NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports. It's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex and let the fun and games begin.
Yeah, we'll be interested. Not used to we won't be double negative there, but we won't be used to not seeing players running mentally. The lactose test on the ears, will they? Seeing who comes top, like James Milner, Bosley, whoever it is. But it does sound like that's the biggest change.
From a sports science point of view, they'll probably do that the first day.
Yeah.
But I think, it may be like as the preseason goes on, I think Liverpool was still doing a lot of that kind of working in throughout pre-season, but maybe eventually, or after the first few days, they might move to more ball work, or it will be more sort of ball orientated, which I think, it's kind of essential. I think when you're trying to introduce the football that Arne is trying to introduce, he's going to be obviously a lot more possession based. So you do need to get the ball out quite quickly and sort of introduce the players to your ideas of how you want them to build up, how you want them to break down on the opposition, what kind of passes you want to do, how and when you want them to switch to play, and sort of those kind of things. So I think it makes sense for the ball to be introduced. But I think something that I sort of missed out, which I think was very important, and Joao wanted to get across, is like Arne is still like out of possession. He's very similar to Jurgen Klopp. Like Joao said, he was always telling people to push forward and sort of win the ball. Like, that's what he wanted. Like, if you lose the ball, you immediately have to win it back and regain possession. And he was very strict in that. So that sort of gegenpressing, as I might call it, I think that will remain the same. Joao was saying, like, sometimes they'd push so far back, you'd just have, like, one versus one, like one sort of defender at the back and stuff like that. So I think we'll still continue doing that, just like Jurgen Klopp has done, press forward and push forward, and it's just the in possession stuff, the build up, that might change a little bit and might differ, and I think the players will find that out very quickly from in pre-season, from what Joao has said.
Yeah, will be interesting to see how it does. And like you say, it'll be interesting to see with his press conferences and things like that. Communication skills will be fascinating. Yeah, if you've not watched that, ladies and gents, it's a good one. And don't worry, Ben, I'm not going to pressure on what other hipster players, whether you'll have Damian Plessis or anyone else coming in, but definitely one worth watching. Now, this is a weird one. Liverpool are having, Ben, as we know, 8 days between games at the moment. There was 8 days between the West Ham to Spurs, and now there's 8 days from the Spurs to the Villa away. So Monday night it'll be, won't it, at Villa Park? I mean, a bit of a weird one in the sense of Villa. I mean, it's hard to imagine Villa don't get that full spot the way Spurs have just become Spursy again, as we know, and what's expected there. But I might be completely wrong on this. If someone asked me our record at Villa Park, I can think of many a sort of good record or good goals through history at Villa Park. But is that the case? Is our record as good at Villa Park stats-wise as I'm thinking?
Yeah, so under Jurgen Klopp, we've actually only lost there once.
Wow.
In the Premier League, because we did lose there 5-0 with the academy.
The kids, yeah.
I think that was the League Cup, right? It was
League Cup, yeah.
I don't count that one. I mean, Jurgen Klopp wasn't even there. But that one defeat was also by a 5-goal margin, and it was that terrible, like probably one of the worst days under Jurgen Klopp, that 7-2.
Yeah, that COVID season,
season that should not be mentioned on this podcast. But yeah, other than that, we've had some good days there, like you mentioned, 6-0 in Klopp's first season there.
Yeah. Colo Touré, yeah.
Yep, you know the one. So, we tend to get wins there, and we tend to do quite well at Villa Park. So I think, if we're looking at it historically, we should be quite optimistic. Even last season, I think we mentioned Bajcetic on this show. Well, last season, and I think that was one of his sort of first really big performances in a Liverpool shirt, and I think obviously became like the third youngest Liverpool player to score in the Premier League with that goal. So even last season we enjoyed playing there. Obviously, I think they're a completely different team this season.
True. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see sort of what happens to them on Thursday in the Europa League. I think that will influence a lot of how they will line up and how they will.
No doubt.
Game. Because if they go out, then obviously there's more of an incentive to, in front of the fans, sort of make up for being eliminated and getting so close and sort of giving all their fans hope of a European trophy, and then not realizing that they'll want to bounce back quickly, and I think they'll put out a strong team. However, if they somehow manage to overturn their deficit and they get through to the final, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out just a half-strong team or
not at all.
Yeah, so I think that will influence a lot of things in terms of how they approach the game. Like you mentioned, I think Tottenham are out of the top four race, so we did win our favour at the weekend. So
True.
It remains to be seen what kind of game we can sort of expect from that Monday night fixture.
Yeah, it's a weird one, this. In the strangest way, it probably wouldn't hurt if A, Villa went through, and B, they went through on the back of extra time, wouldn't it, realistically? Because if there's extra time even, and, they'll think it'll be in party atmosphere and everyone will have that one eye towards that game, which may suit us a little bit. So, yeah, we'll have to see what next Monday. God, the games are ticking down fast. Jurgen Klopp's last away game brings. And the final section, Ben, transfer chat, eh? Everyone's talking transfers, everyone's talking names and positions. The one thing I think it's important to say is the position maybe that keeps being, or the positions I should say, plural, sorry, that keeps being linked. I know David Ornstein, a few have said, Liverpool are definitely looking at a centre-back and a forward, a winger, as some people put it, but someone in the attacking line. I think it's right to say that. I know you're always good for a link for a sort of a youngster, different leagues, etc. So I'm going to turn it over to you. So 2 centre-backs and 2, it can be attackers, wingers, however you want to describe them, that you think in the stats say, not necessarily will be coming to Anfield, but you wouldn't be surprised if they're on the radar of the stats team.
Yeah, so I sort of did a filter for both in terms of what are like the key metrics that you want from a centre-back. So the metrics that I looked at are you want your centre-back in a Liverpool team to make at least 20 forward passes per 90 minutes. That's what Konate and Van Dijk make for Liverpool. On top of that, you want them to win at least 60% of their aerial duels.
Yeah.
And around at least seven possession-adjusted interceptions per 90 minutes. I did have a little bit of a leeway with this one because Konate and Van Dijk tend to make a little bit more, but not like there will be centre-backs who will play in a more possession-dominated defence, and even though possession-adjusted sort of interceptions make up for that mostly, they won't entirely make up for all of it. It's not a perfect metric. Yeah. So the players that for me came up who sort of perfectly matched that profile, one was, I think, is really interesting because it's tossed in, I can't say his surname, Adarabioyo. And obviously
the Fulham boy,
yeah, he actually caught my eye in the game against us. I thought he played really well in the League Cup semi-finals.
Yeah.
I think obviously he's a free agent.
True.
I think there's just been a report saying he rejected Spurs' contract offer, so he's clearly still in the market. I think he's been linked with Liverpool in the past, so I think for me, it would not surprise me if Michael Edwards was looking at that and saying, yeah, I think that would make sense, especially as Joel Matip is leaving, and for me, Tosin, it seems kind of very similar to Joel Matip in their profile. There's 2 other, Umar Solé and Stranhinja Pavlovic. They're the Salzburg centre-backs. They very much match that profile, but Salzburg is actually having quite a difficult season. Thanks to actually one of our loan players, Vitoslav Jarosz, who's doing really well at Sturm Graz, and Sturm Graz is actually about to win the Austrian Bundesliga from Salzburg, and that will be the first time in 10 years that Salzburg hasn't won the league. So,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where we'll be shopping at this summer. And the other one who I made a leeway for, I think fits the profile, is Mane Diomande from Sporting. He is someone who makes a lot of forward passes, wins a lot of his duels, wins a lot of his aerial duels, so he's strong in the air. The only criteria that he didn't match was he doesn't get up to 7 possession-adjusted interceptions. per 90 minutes. I think he's around 5-ish. So I think I made that leeway for him because Sporting are a sort of very possession-orientated side, and they're very dominant in the Portuguese league in terms of possession. I think they rank now second in the league for it. So maybe that plays a little bit of a factor into why his interceptions are quite low. He might not need to make as many interceptions. So
True.
I think because of that, like, that's not the biggest metric we'll be looking for. I think the more important metrics are, especially in Arne's system where he really wants the centre backs to begin building up straight away and making forward passes. The forward passes metric is the one we'll be looking at, and obviously in terms of aerial duels, high volume, high success rate, and again the defensive duels is one that he's ranked really highly in. I think he ranks top in the Portuguese, is it called Liga NOS? Or is it not called?
Yeah. And I think it is. That was my understanding.
Yeah, the Liga NOS, he ranks quite highly for that. So for me, I think Tosin Adarabioyo, I don't know if I said that right, forgive me, I probably butchered his name, and Ousmane Diomande. I think those are the two for me in terms of centre-backs that make sense. And out of the two, Tosin, the fact that he's a free agent, probably weighs in his favour. For Diomande, the thing that weighs in my favour is the fact that he actually has played in a number of different positions throughout his career, and he's actually played a lot of, quite a lot at left-sided centre-back and left-back. So to come in as the sort of not first choice, the fact that he can fit into so many different roles, a bit like Joe Gomez, I think kind of that's what I like about him, and that's what he has, I think, over Adarabioyo, who tends to stick to the right side a bit more. But then again, Liverpool do have Kwanzaa, who can play in that left-sided centre-back role, and he's done really well in that position as well.
True. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because like you said, Tosin ticks a lot of boxes: homegrown, the age, Premier League experience, been at City before, hasn't he? Knows the league. Unfortunately, I think it's because, like you said, there's going to be a lot of clubs interested, Spurs and many, many others, and I'll be looking at him. That's the tough bit. Diomande will not come cheap, as we know. He is an aerial beast. And then, like you start to think and then go, okay, Amorim also plays with the back three, so what's the adjustment for there? Yes, he can give you on the left side, but you've got Kwanzaa there as well, so the price may come into fruition there. And you're right, it's so difficult because you think about the Salzburg boys. I mean, we've been linked with Solé before, haven't we? Like last summer, he was on our radar, but that jump up from the Austrian league to the top of the Premier League is ginormous, isn't it? But it would be understandable, I think. And I might be wrong. I think Pavlovic is left-footed. Is he? I don't know if that's right as well.
Yeah, he's a left-sided. So Solé is the right-sided centre-back.
Yeah.
Pavlovic. But I've watched a few Salzburg games, especially recently when they played Sturm Graz. And for me, I think I like them both, but I just don't think they would be ready for that
jump. Yeah.
It's, for me, I think a smart sort of Bundesliga mid-table to top sort of that's the kind of level that they are now. Or if we're talking about like the Premier League, I think Solé or Pavlovic would be a good sort of pickup for someone like Crystal Palace, you know.
Yeah.
Or even Fulham to replace Tosin Adarabioyo. I wouldn't be surprised. Like that kind of team, not kind of where we want to be, essentially. So for me, I think the top two targets right now seem like Tosin Adarabioyo and Ousmane Diomande in terms of the metrics, but you never know. Edwards could come out of the blocks and surprise us everyone with a completely rogue name in the mix.
Yeah, you do feel at some point this summer, there's, in true Liverpool, old Edwards style, there's going to be a name that just comes from nowhere. They get mentioned at 12 p.m. and they're signed or announced by 4 p.m. type of thing, or the deal's done, as it were. So, which wouldn't be a sad thing, would it, to talk about? So, next week, we will save the forwards that Ben's thinking of, because we had a good discussion there on centre-backs. But, ladies and gents, can't stop saying it. 4 goals from open play, a sunny victory. Jurgen Klopp's last away game coming up. We'll see if Ben's got any more interviews in the pipeline, and we'll even see if an Arne slot might be announced. We'll have to see. But all it leaves me to say as ever is, Ben, for the insight, the chat, much appreciated, pal.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and I've enjoyed it. And definitely do make sure to check out the Joao Carlos interview if you haven't, because I really enjoyed that conversation, and I think it was just really interesting to talk to him and see how Jurgen Klopp and Arne Slot compares from someone who's actually worked with both of them. So I think, definitely do check it out. Recommend it.
The player's perspective, definitely. Good stuff. And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.